loving yourself from the inside out might not be for you. Self-love goes far beyond all the shallow things that we're taught to believe it is. If we want to pour into ourselves to actually feel enough, maybe instead we should do baby steps and love ourselves from the outside in. And as we go up the pyramid, you'll see why. Now, the deeper we're able to get with ourselves, the better. But it's not everyone that can go from 0 to 100 like that. And that's why this process is so important. After having gone through a 28-year relationship with myself, like you, I've gone through my fair share of highs and lows. I've learned that this whole self-love thing is pretty complex because it changes depending on the season that we're in. But it is the most important relationship we have to water, because how are we gonna pour into others if we can't pour into ourselves? So I've created these 5 pillars of self-love so we're able to start with the baby steps and get up to the really, really number one thing that it takes for us to connect with ourselves. Number 1 is nurture. Now, nurture can mean a lot of things. Usually when we think about this, we think of spa days, we think of pampering ourselves, which 100% we absolutely need to do to give us that boost. But think of the things that you can incorporate in your daily life. Some of these things can be giving yourself extra time in the morning to get ready so you really feel your best when you go out there to take on the day. This can be things like taking care of your health in terms of exercising, making sure you're getting lots of sunlight and you're going on walks. Another is to declutter your space. Having things all around you is a sure recipe for you to start feeling anxious. And even if we're only able to dedicate 10 minutes a day, maybe it's washing the dishes, maybe it's cleaning your car, this can all contribute to you feeling some pressure relieved off you because you know your environment is a safe space. Other daily things can include moving your body. Do not underestimate the power of exercise. Remember that your body is always trying to tell you something. So if right now you feel down, you're in a rut by any means, a lot of times we might attribute that to emotional things or mental, but really it's our physical needs that aren't being met. Sometimes self-love is not sitting down and talking through things. Sometimes it's about action and it's about moving. Another thing is what we're putting into our bodies. Like, when was the last time you drank some water? Today is a perfect example. I ate some food yesterday and I had leftovers, so I ate the rest today. Yesterday, the food did not make me feel good. And today, surprise, surprise, it also did not. Now, I don't know what they cooked with it, but I know that the food had about 5 different ingredients. So if I don't stop, take a step back and think, what about that didn't make me feel good? I'm gonna end up eating that over and over again when clearly my body does not react well with it. So nurturing is all about taking care of our environment, taking care of ourselves by doing the small little things every day to make that happen. But this alone does not stop the bigger issues with self-love, which is why we have step number 2. Step 2 is prioritizing yourself. Now, this may look a little different to everyone. Prioritizing yourself might mean taking a step back from certain relationships because they're no longer serving you. This can also mean for someone who's been avoiding all social contact that you put yourself out there more so you can start gaining those meaningful relationships. A day to unwind and unplug where you're not looking at social media, you're just connecting with yourself is a perfect example of how to do this. For me, one thing that I absolutely have been loving is a weekly reset day. Usually for me, this is on Sundays where I will do nothing but just clean the house, journal, meditate, do all of the things that really fill up my cup so that I can start the week fresh after I've planned everything. And maybe you don't have a whole day set aside for this. Maybe you only have a few hours in the morning or the evening. Whatever it is, make sure you block it off in your schedule because that is time for you. You deserve it. This is not time for you and your partner or for you and your mom. This is just you with yourself, and sometimes that can be scary. I usually like to set this time aside on the weekend because I know I have a lot less pressure, whereas in the weekday I feel a bit more rushed. So that might be best for you, but you're gonna find something in your schedule that works. And if we don't set time aside for just us, it's gonna boil up. We're gonna feel it. It's not like, oh, we have all these emotions, we can set it off to the side and carry on, because this is going to build and then it's gonna manifest itself in other ways in places in our lives that have nothing to do with the actual problem at hand, where the problem is really that we need to recharge. And recharging is not hanging out with loved ones all the time, because how much can we really love ourselves if we don't enjoy our own company? You should be, I get some time to spend with myself. Ooh, my favorite person. Let's go. What are we doing? Hanging out with yourself should excite you. Whatever it is that gives you this time to stop and breathe and reconnect with yourself, because you should be one of your own best friends, okay? And you need time to nurture that relationship too. Because when you need to reconnect with a friend, you get a phone call. When you need to reconnect with your parents, they will let you know. But your body's way of letting you know, your mind's way of letting you know that it's time to hang out with yourself again, that it's time to make space for this, is by feeling down sometimes, because then you are forced to explore that. 3 is fulfillment. So although we want to take some time to instill all these hobbies that are good for our soul and for our body, we need to do some things that are just fun, that just excites the inner child in us, that gets us going. When was the last time that you just did a hobby or something for fun that you were gonna get no money from? You were gonna gain no skill, you were just drawing to draw even though you suck at drawing, you were just going ice skating even though you can barely skate. Something that is just helps you be creative and let loose and be silly. And maybe your hobby looks very different than that. Maybe your hobby is like coding or horseback riding. Whatever it is, you know the things that you love because it lights you up. It creates a fire inside of you. You are passionate when you think about it and when you talk about it. And that is your soul's way of saying that you are heading in the right direction, and that is something that fills you up. Things like that are what bring joy into our lives. And when we stop doing those things, that's when we start to feel it, because there's something missing. We're looking for something in life and it's just not there. And we don't realize that we're the ones who are not prioritizing it. Your fulfillment can come from helping others. It can come from volunteering, for doing good. So many of the podcasts I've been listening to lately have been saying this, that we think all of our happiness is gonna come from these material gains and these accomplishments. That's when we're gonna feel worthy of love. But really, we feel love when we are exuding it, when we are giving it to others. Because when we are focused on ourselves and all we think about is me, I'm not happy, I don't know why I'm happy, we don't notice the world around us. And the exact opposite happens, that when we are noticing the world around us and we are giving and we are in this space of gratitude because we see how much we have to give and how much others need it, we can barely think of ourselves in terms of, oh man, I'm so down, because you are overflowing with this joy. If you're lacking a little bit of self-love in your life, maybe you're lacking a little bit of the spark for life. And that's coming from living a life that is not aligned to your values. Your body, your mind is just telling you, hey, we need to make a switch because there's something missing. Whatever we're doing right now, it's not working and we need to tweak it. A big factor in this for most people is their work and career. A lot of people, most people I feel, hate their jobs or hate what they're doing. And that can be so detrimental to your mental health. Like, we are spending 8 hours a day. We are spending 40 hours a week in this. We are spending more time at work than we're spending with our family. So if that is something that you hate, that's only gonna end up breeding resentment and anger towards your life. That's going to inevitably pour onto you afterwards. And don't get me wrong, some people are not the biggest fans of their work, but they understand that their work is just for money and they have their hobbies and the things that they love on the side. It's actually an amazing balance because you're not getting your fulfillment from your work, so you get to detach the two. But if you don't have anything that is filling you up and you only have your job to give you this sense of purpose, and that is not at all what you want to be doing, you're gonna feel a disconnect. If you see that the bigger roles in your company are not jobs that you'd want to do and there's really no room for growth, you're not being challenged, you're not enjoying what it is that you do, we end up hating our job and hating our boss, when at the end of the day, all this external hate is really breeding internal hate. Because at the end of the day, what nobody wants to talk about is the fact that the only person in control of your happiness and the circumstances and environment that breeds your happiness is you. So you might think you're getting frustrated with others, but this is really internal resentment that you might not be addressing. This is kind of like the inner things that we're talking about. That's why we start with pampering ourselves and doing face masks, because once we start getting here, it gets like, it gets hot. And these are the conversations that you need to be having with yourself if you truly want to find happiness in this self-love. Because I'm telling you, if you have this shallow self-love where you are starting off with like, oh, okay, I'm doing all these things, and you are being blind to the things that are truly hurting your relationship with your own life, it's not gonna go well. It's gonna fall really quick because it doesn't stand on a strong foundation. And that brings us to number 4, which is reflect. which kind of encompasses everything that we've been talking about, which is stop and analyze. Are the friends that I have around me people that are pulling me up? Do they have a lot of mindsets that I wish to adopt into my own life? Or do I hear a lot of negativity from them? Do they have a lot of limiting beliefs that I don't want to associate myself with? Because that, my friends, is contagious. And I don't know if we want to be around it, you know? Reflect, as in look at the different areas of your life. Stop, write down, what are the most important pillars for me? Family, friends, relationships, career, health, you, spirituality. What are they for you? What do you value? What do you care about? The only way to plan where you're going is to understand where you are right now. I've noticed in my own life that whenever I'm lacking self-love, there's something that I'm not addressing. There is something I'm hiding from. I don't want to face myself. And if you want to regain that self-love, you need to ask yourself, what am I running from? Why don't I love myself? Because I have X belief. Where did that belief come from? Do I believe that? Did someone tell me this over and over again and now I believe it? Is this my conditioning? Get deep, understand, because if you've had a negative outlook for a very long time, it probably came from childhood, it probably came from your upbringing and conditioning. And if you don't stop and analyze and see if it aligns with you and if this is something you want to continue to bring over to the new life you're creating, it's going to keep holding you back. What are the things that light you up? And what are the things that are tearing you down? Again, this can be done in baby steps. It doesn't have to be this whole intense session of crying, although I'm sure that would feel really good. It can be at night before you go to bed. You write down 3 things that you're grateful for and 3 things that you wish to improve. You don't even have to write it down if you want. You can just think it in your head when you're in bed. What are 3 things? Reflect, look over. Sometimes we're just like, it was an okay day. I don't know how many times I've gone to bed and I was like, it was an okay day, an average day. And then I looked through my whole day and I was like, wow, this was amazing. I was healthy. I hung out with friends. I did this and that. You know what? It was a pretty good day. And that helps you be grateful and appreciate the things that you do have, which breeds the self-love, because it's this love that you have for yourself and for the world around you. Also helps you let go, because if you feel like you haven't done the best job, you're kind of just holding that inside and you're like, but you're not doing anything about it. You're not letting it go, because once you acknowledge it, it loses its power over you. Because you say, you know what? I didn't manage my time properly today. I didn't do this when I should have. I can do it tomorrow, instead of feeling all this guilt and weighing on you because you start doing that one day and then the next day you have that day's problems and then you take that on. And next thing you know, at the end of the week, you are carrying this baggage and you don't know why, when you could slowly be letting it go by just accepting it and forgiving yourself and saying, you know what, I'm going to try harder tomorrow. That's all I can do. Give yourself that grace. Which brings us to the most important point and the one that changes all your fundamentals, which is number 5, perception. The way that we navigate the world is all based on all of these subconscious beliefs that we were taught growing up. It was the conditioning of wherever we're from. And it's not like we have a book of our brains in our minds so that we can read each one and be like, no, I don't like that one. It just comes out in the way that we act and the things that we do. And you can start noticing the little thoughts that you have that are signaling what yours are. Because the inner critic that is bullying you inside of your head a lot of times isn't even your own voice. You don't even believe the things that it's saying, but you're not able to step out of the noise enough to realize that you don't agree with it. You're just taken on this ride, and before you know it, you're deep into it. A lot of times we're not happy with where we are in life, and it's not because of our lives. It's not actually because of our lives, because if we stop and we appreciate it for a second, we're like, you know what? Things are good. My loved ones are healthy. I woke up today. Things are all right. All this other small problems, like, we'll be able to fix. It's okay. But because we have certain expectations, because of social media, because of the things that we see, and now we are comparing it, now we see there is a very large gap. But if we took those expectations away and we just saw our situation for what it was, we would realize how abundantly wealthy we are with all of the things that we do have in our lives. The thousands of ads that we're exposed to every day also does not help, because they are always trying to make us chase something else, as if we're not supposed to be happy right now. There's only ever now. So if you're not happy now and tomorrow you're not happy now, When are you going to be happy? When are you going to allow yourself that privilege? Just like with any other relationship in your life, you're going to have communication issues with yourself. There are going to be times where you don't like you too much, okay? You're going to be disappointed in yourself. This is all normal. This is all okay. Let's stop trying to pretend like we have to have a perfect relationship with ourselves all the time for it to be healthy. No, sometimes we're going to be down on ourselves. And what brings us the most suffering is not being okay with that. Instead of acknowledging, hey, I'm not happy with what I did today. I'm just feeling a little down, but that's okay. Tomorrow might be better. Let me allow these feelings to do their thing, because the way I'm feeling is valid. There's probably a reason for it. And if I dig down deep enough, I'll probably find it. You're human. This happens in every other relationship you're in, and you still give them grace. You still forgive them. You understand this is just life. So why not do that with yourself and offer yourself that same respect? This is a marathon and the longest relationship you will ever be in. But when you apply these 5 steps, you finally have all the pieces to the puzzle. Last fall, I moved to Italy with my now fiance to start my master's. And although I was so freaking happy, it was really weird because I was so happy, but at the same time, deep down, when I was alone, I wasn't, and something was wrong, and I couldn't figure out what it was because there was this disconnect. If you had told me at any point in my life that this would have been my life, I would have never believed it. I would have been bouncing off the walls. But for some reason, now that I was there, I felt something was missing, and it was really messing with me because I thought, if I can't be happy here, where can I be happy? This is like the peak. This is the creme de la creme. Okay? And that was a really tough conversation I had to have with myself, and a lot of digging I had to do to figure out what was truly wrong. I sat with myself, I reflected. Luckily, I had a therapist at the time, and I realized finally what the problem was. I was holding on to this idea of success that wasn't even mine. I grew up in Boston, and it is a fast-paced metropolitan city in the most capitalistic country in the world. There is a very strict definition of what success means by my city's terms. And I wasn't living up to that because I had just moved to a whole other country. If my success and my happiness comes from my self-worth, which is how much I produce, and I am now in a slow season where my priorities have shifted, then what does that say about me? And this frame of mind did not allow me to see all of the blessings that I had right in front of me and things that could not even compare to whatever my other idea of success was. Like, this was it. So although I was not serving my inner critic's expectations, I was living a life that was authentic to me, to my authentic self. Crazy part is, I couldn't even tell the difference between my inner critic and myself. I couldn't tell the difference between society and me. And that's what happens when you don't take time for yourself. You're not able to distinguish the two because they are two different things, and you're so consumed in life, which means you're so consumed in everyone else's thoughts and everyone's point of view and values that you're not able to create a distinct separation between you and them. And when I finally noticed that, everything changed because everything was already the way I wanted it to be. I just couldn't see it. Can you imagine that my entire environment was exactly what I had dreamt of it being, but it was only almost like I had a mask on that I wasn't allowed to fully enjoy it? And then when I finally saw it, I was able to lift that up, take a deep breath, and really take in my blessings. And sometimes that's all it is. You think you're not where you want to be in your life. You're being hard on yourself. You're not who you want to be. When really, the problem is not coming from where you are. It is coming from your expectations and possibly the timeline that you're creating as to how fast you need to meet these expectations. It's almost as if, like, you might not be the problem, but you are the problem because you're not making time to figure out who is the problem. You know what I mean? And this is where I think meditation also plays a huge role to even be able to see things like that. When I was able to break free from this frame of mind, I was able to finally enjoy my experience here. And thankfully, this happened right at the beginning. So my entire time here, I've been able to enjoy the insane phase that I am currently in, because I know I won't be here again. And to think that I could have gone through this entire phase feeling anxious for some reason, because now I have to be a student again, and oh my gosh, I have to be a student, but I want to be this, and this, and now I have to take a step back, and taking a step back is scary. But for who? Because it's crazy. Every season of your life looks different, and that's okay. Honor yourself, trust yourself, forgive yourself. Have a little faith. You got this, and I know you are going to live a life full of love for yourself, because clearly by watching this video and staying up till here, you're someone who takes time to invest in yourself, to learn more, to fill yourself up with knowledge. I am cheering for you. I am here for you. And if you want to see more self-development videos, make sure to follow me for more. Till next time.